colors of pink, 2 shades of pink. And then there was an orange and the white. There's that many colors out on that hill, and that was one of the prettiest sights you ever looked at.
How far was that from your home?
It was just about like from here to the store, and you was in the bed of them. It grew up as higher than my head down to just masses of them on that.
What was the reason the azaleas were more common then, do you think?
Well, it was because I guess they're as plentiful now. I don't know how they are. Well, I guess not either. Because then that was so rocky. It was good soil, but there's so many rocks, nothing else could grow there. But these azaleas, that's the kind of soil that they grow in there. You can't put one out here in the
good soil.
Dirt, and where there's to open to the sun. And this was on the it faced the east, that hill. The east was back here. And they got
now, how was it situated? Was your house on an elevation, or where was your house?
The house was up on a kind of a mound. It was a hill, a good long ways each side, but it was level on top. It was just as level as that out there. Just on top where the house sat, and way around a pretty big space. It was just a natural formation. It wasn't built up to that. It was just,
how about trees and shade and close?
Well, we had mostly apple trees and cherry trees around the yard. This was all. There was no regular shade trees like oak, hickory, or anything like that. It was just apple trees, fruit trees, and cherry. We had cherries and plums, and then out on the edge, just across the yard, a space about like near to a car, or that car up there, I guess. There was a great arbor, just a great fine place. It was wider than this porch. And the grapevines were staked up, and they covered that up. And you could walk under there and pick off the grapes hanging down there. Great big bunches. Had all kinds of grapes imaginable.
How much of the beauty around your house was natural, and how much of it was due to your father having planted it?
Well, the wild azaleas, and we call it ivy, mountain ivy. They call it mountain laurel now, but I knew it as still mountain ivy. It was up above the house on the other side from the azaleas. There was a big thicket of them. It was very good soil up there, and not too
shady
rocky.
too.
And they had this, I don't know what kind of pipe clay they called it. It was on the bank of the road up there, and you could dig out that in blocks, and you could scratch it, tear it up with your hand, but you could whittle out a pipe. My brothers used to do that, whittle out pipes, and get them in the shape they wanted. Well, first they would go and make the pipe and the bowl of the pipe, and then they'd trim it off on the outside and make it smooth. It looked just like these pipes you buy at the store. They'd take them in the oven, put them in the oven, and then slowly bake them till they harden. Or you would throw them against a rock. Sometimes they wouldn't break, but they were very, very strong.
They always made them out of that one.
Yeah, there's that one. It was one red clay. It was they called it pipe clay, but it was a brownish color. It was all those one off the road for I guess a quarter of a mile. But that was all it was on the bank of the road. The bank was up high as my head.
Did you have rhododendron?
Close and rhododendron. It didn't grow up in the hills. It grew down on the Carter River, down lower, down towards Ulladay. It grew it needed damp soil. Always grew near a water stream. And there was plenty of that down in that way. And they had the chestnuts, wild grapes, and stuff like that.
That was when chestnuts were still around and no blighted in them.
They was just...
they were the most common thing in the mountains, would you say?
Chestnuts? The chestnuts were in certain sections. Now, there's some places where they didn't grow so well, or they just had never got started, but and then there's hickories, just was just scattered around. But oak and chestnut was the,
All kinds of oak, white oak,
yeah,
red oak?
white oak, black oak, red oak, Spanish oak, and all kind of oaks. And they had the acorns on them, or made good hog feed. The hogs would get out and just get
You
fat.
turned the hogs loose in those kind of woods.
Well, they had free range at that time, and because there was so much land there, I never could understand why they got the no fence law. There was so much land there that wasn't fit for anything on earth but stock range. Well, people would come from way down below where I live in the spring of the year, along by after the last frost, when the grass began to sprout up a little, they'd drive their cattle, sheep, and the cattle, and some would be spot 18 and 20 mule colts, as young mules it turned out on the range.
Was there any rustling, or how did people brand him?
Nobody bothered them. Everybody knew.
Did they cut the hog's ears?
They had the marks. They marked their ears. Different marks. Some would they just cut off a little tip of each ear. That was two smooth crafts. And then sometimes they'd cut off tip of each ear, and on the underside of the ear they'd cut out a little notch, and that was called a swallow fork. I know my mother used to tease Don. He said, I know Mr. Kincaid's mark. It's 2 over bits and a swallow fork. And Mother said, poor old thing, how come him to swallow a fork? Now that was and they'd have 2 over bits and 2 under bits sometimes. Sometimes 2 smooth crafts and an over bit, and then sometimes 2 smooth crafts and an under bit. Well, everybody knew their mark, and sometimes it just split there, or split in the left, or split in the right.
Now, how about the mule colts and the larger?
They just run out
without it being branded.
No, they didn't brand them or do anything. They'd put a bell, each one, but if he put out 2 or 3 colts, he'd put a bell on one of them. Well, they was raised together, and they stayed together, and they followed that bell. And the sheep was the same way. Dad would turn out 35 and 40 sheep in the spring, and one would have the bell on. And you'd hear that bell coming way back up the mountain. You know, the bell sounded up there.
Is that because things were so quiet?
Yeah. And
you wouldn't hear it around here, would you, with motorcycles?
Lord, no, you wouldn't hear a cowbell if it's around your feet. But you could get out on them hills and you could hear, I guess, 25 different bells, different sounds. And everybody knew their sound of their bell. Well, they'd always spot their cow.
Were they homemade bells, Mama?
No, I bought them most of them. I've seen a few.
Some of the Smiths hammered some, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen a few homemade ones, but they never did have the sound of what when they bought. But them cows would be out, and every once in a while you hear cowbells. They'd be half a dozen different sounds coming. And they'd
How
come
far might these livestock range in miles from where they?
Oh.
How far was it open before they did?
3 to 10 miles. And they just keep going back in the mountains. There's very few people. Well, at one time there was a lot of people lived on the Burnt Mountain. It's known now as the Tate Mountain Estate. And there was a lot of people lived up there, but everybody had their crop fenced in. And sometimes mule colts would take them in from, they'd take them, as far as I know, take as far as 8 miles, turn them loose on that mountain. And sometimes they'd get unruly and get in people's crops, have fence down, and go in. He just sent them, usually everybody knew the marks, and they knew practically all of their stock. I know there's no man lived up there that, my dad had 2 mules, and one of the neighbors had 2. Just young colts, they turned them loose and went out there. Then he got in his corn, got in his field. Well, he hadn't put them up. He put them up and fed them. And so he sent Dad word or wrote him a letter or something. I only got mail once a week. And he
You
rode
had to
like-
go to the post office to get it.
Yeah, they'd have to go, some of them 3 and 4 miles, of course.
And
We
about
used-
once a week, that's as often as the
That's
post
often the
ran.
mail run,
Up
yeah.
till when? What year? How old were you when you remember it running once a week?
Oh, Lord, I was wrong nearly.
It only ran once a week.
Yeah,
And you went to the post office.
sure.
And was it a horseback man with mail bags?
Yeah, my brother used to carry mail from Dyke,
Which brother?
my oldest brother.
Charlie?
From Dyke, about 3 miles from where we live. There's a post office there. Well, he'd carry the mail from there to Jasper, 15 miles, and summer and winter. Or I can breathe. He got $1.25 a trip. He rode that 15 miles, but that $1.25.
$1.25. What would it compare to? Well, what then was it worth? What was a day's labor worth?
Well,
50 cents?
$1 a day.
$1 a day.
$1 a day. But they bid off the mail route.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted it, and they didn't have to go but once a week. Just make one
And he
trip a
could do
week.
something else maybe by
Yeah,
going
well,
down
he
there.
had
Sure.
plenty of work to do. He'd start
me-
out early in the morning and go all the way to Jasper, and to see that he leave. Well, they got a post office right about a mile from where I live, Snyder. Well, he'd start out at Snyder.
Why was it called Snyder? Do you have
Well,
any
just
idea?
the name, what the name of the post office.
But
Just like
why?
Dyke.
Was there
I
a
don't
family
know.
around there?
No.
Had there ever been any Snyders?
Never had been any Snyder.
Any Dykes ever been
Let
there?
me see. Now just wait. I'll tell you the story about that.
All right.
The man that kept the post office after it was organized and got to be a post office. Hey, one night.
Who are you speaking of? Snyder now? That's the
Yeah,
one.
one night one of his neighbors, he'd moved from way down toward the Ellery, back up there, just of course where we live. And one of his neighbors come in, and he was working to get to the post office then. And they didn't know what to call it, what name to give it. Well, he come in and come that night, hollered at the gate. Mr. Walker went to the door and answered him. He said, "How about getting to stay all night?" He said, I'm kind of lost, and said, "I'd like to have a place to stay. It's getting later all the time." He said, "Well, what's your name?" And he said, "Snipe."
I believe you said, Mama, that he said, "What's your name?" Mr. Walker did. And what did the man answer?
He said, "Snyder."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and Mr. Walker said something else to him, and he got laughed. This man laughed, and he said, "Snyder, your foot." He said, "You're Lice Akins." And,
That's who it was? Liza
yeah,
Akins?
Lice Akins. And he went in. He invited him inside then, and they talked it over. And Mr. Walker said, "No, I'm going to name this post office Snyder." And that's what gave it its name.
So Snyder was just a joke of a name.
Yeah,
Didn't refer to
just,
anybody.
It just had turned out to be a post office with the name of a joke in it.
Were the other post offices?
Well, Dyke, I never did know what to give Dyke.
Now, what were the
its
names
name.
of some of the others?
There's Dyke and the R.
You know what that one's about?
There's O-R-R was R, D-Y-K-E was Dyke, and then Jasper. That was Now there's
You mean the town of Jasper?
yeah,
Down the road?
yeah,
That was a
there's
pretty
a
big
post
town,
office.
yeah.
There's a post office there. It was Jasper, but when they got these other post offices between now and then, they put a man on the route to carry the mail once a week. They'd come in on the train to Jasper. And the mail carriers would have to be there when the train run at a certain time and bring the mail back. And they bring it back to each post office, you know. Well, he always brought our mail on out of, when he was carrying the mail, he'd bring it on. It was, at that time, it was 3 miles to the post office. But when we used to get our mail at Carter Cay was the closest post office. That was 5 miles away. I walked out there after mail.
Now, when you went to a
No,
post
it's not.
office as a child, do you remember any of your dealings? Did you ever mail a letter there, or did you always pick up the mail?
Well, I'd pick up mail. If I had a letter to mail, I'd take
Would
it
you
in
buy
the
a stamp, or how would you
buy a
trade?
stamp. If I didn't have a stamp at home, Dad used to buy these stamped envelopes. He'd get
What?
he'd get a pack of envelopes, but there's only 2 cents stamps.
There was 2
in it.
cents on the stamp.
Uh-huh. Well, he'd get 12 envelopes for 25 cents. 2 cent
Right.
stamps on 12, that'd make 24, and then the envelopes was a penny.
That was a good buy, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, that was, they kept it up that way for a long time.
Now,
And
what was his writing paper? That was his envelopes. What
well,
did you use for writing paper?
it's just old tablets.
Tablets?
The rough tablets. Very, very
what
rough.
did he
They
write
didn't
with?
Have, pencil mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they had, they'd have a pen once in a while. But it was,
Quill pen?
Huh?
A quill pen?
Well, I never
Probably.
did see. My dad used to have one a long time ago, but I never did see one that I could use. But they had these. They'd buy points.
Mhm.
Had the staff, and they was made and the places you could fit a point in there.
Yeah,
You had to
I
dip it in
remember
the
those.
ink, you know. I guess you
I remember those, yeah.
They dipped
When
in
I
the
started
ink.
school, you had to buy a point.
Well, that was
Put your pen
aggravating
point.
to write with. I got more ink on my fingers than I did on the paper.
Yeah.
When I,
Now, what about coins? Did you ever see money when you were a small child?
penny once in a while.
Was it an Indian head penny?
All Indian had pennies. And the nickels were all had the V on the back of them.
Mm-hmm.
V5, that's a 5-cent piece. And then they got to making them, they had them with, just had a 5 on on one side, and then I forget whose picture on the other, Jefferson or somebody. But that was the nickels, and then they got to making buffalo nickels and having 5 cents on them, and made a different kind. But my daddy used to have, I've seen him with a lot of gold, gold coins.
What? Well, would they be
gold-
5,
gold-
10, $20
Gold
pieces?
coins for anywhere from $1 to $50. He used to have a lot of gold.
Where did he
Get
keep
a
it?
whole lot. Well, it was in circulation then.
Now, he didn't hoard it like you said. Was it Bob Evans?
Oh,
Kept
no.
gold in the ground, or who was it?
Granddaddy Southern had a pot of gold buried. And
Never
to
found.
my
Was it?
knowledge, it's never been found. As far as I know, it's never been found. But Dad would get a lot of money in trading, or sometimes he'd loan money and they'd pay him back in gold. And it was pretty plentiful then.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of gold coins,
Mm-hmm.
and but nobody thought anything about it. It'd spin, and they just taste on from one
Right.
to the other.
Mm-hmm.
There was one boy there. He was collecting gold. He wasn't not for any reason, only just to see how much he could get. He didn't think there's any value on it, but it's valuable now. But he'd give you anybody $10 and a quarter for a $10 gold piece.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was just that
In
crazy.
those years, he could have gone to the bank to get it.
Well, yeah, but he just see somebody with a $10 gold piece. I give you $10 and a quarter for that. And that's what they'd spend, because they knew they'd get more.
Right.
Well, when he married, he had, and at that time that was a pile of money. He had $500 in gold when he got married. He was about 22 years old, and he just worked around a little and get $10, 10 and a quarter, and sometimes they'd let him. Sometimes they let him have a $10 gold piece just for $10.
When you were growing up and you went in a store, what was the most elegant thing you thought you saw? The thing you most admired, huh?
Well, now I'm going to tell you something. Until I was 15 years old, I'd never been in a store. Now, they just didn't go to the store.
Now, where was the closest store to you?
5 miles away. And then there
At
was,
where?
One of them was one at Dyke and one at Carnegie.
Now, if you went there with your father, he'd leave you out on the wagon maybe and go in and trade.
Most times, like if it was cold weather, he'd sit me on the ground, but I seldom went with my daddy. I seldom went.
But you did go before you were 16.
No, never.
I mean, not in a store, but to town, to where stores were.
Well, I passed by going to church, something like that. That's what I mean. No, I never went into the store. I remember my first time I went to the store, I was 14 or 15. And I carried
Where
some
was that?
eggs. I went to Dyke, and I carried some eggs, and I got soda and matches and thread.
Things your mother had asked you to get?
What she sent me after.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't ask me to get them. She said, go get them.
Yeah.
And I went with one of my friends that lived there.
Now, when she told you that, did you feel good at the idea of going to the store yourself?
No, it didn't make too much difference. I didn't.
You had no curiosity of what was inside the store?
No, I didn't care.
All right, what happened when you went to the store now?
Well, I just went to the store and the man took my eggs and counted them out and asked me
Yeah,
what
but
I
you
wanted.
saw calico, other things in there. Were you
yes,
curious at what you saw?
I saw the things stacked up there. Well, I knew what it was because Dad bought most of our clothes, except what Mother made.
Yeah, but here was a big part of the world now in front of it you didn't get to see at home.
Yes.
Did you look at it or?
Well, I didn't stand and shut my eyes.
No. Did you maybe tarry a few minutes?
It was pretty up in the shelf, and on, and I see things in the boxes back there, and I imagine they were shoes and
Store-bought shoes in place of homemade.
Store-bought shoes. I was grown at that time. At that time, I never wore a pair of shoes for every day bought out of the store.
No.
He'd buy shoes for to wear to church, but we wore shoes that he made at home.
Homemade at home, right?
Homemade shoes and home knit stockings. And I didn't know anything about it. Well, one thing with me, I don't know why, but one thing with me, nothing ever appealed to me too much because I knew I didn't have the money. And to buy it, and I just forget about it. I knew it. I could see it, admire it, but I thought it was. It had some.
You didn't much look forward to window shopping or something like that.
No, there's no way to window shop. The store I went to, you go up the steps up high as that before you got in, where you could.
What else was interesting in that store?
I don't remember anything else because I didn't. I just went in and got what I wanted and walked out.
All right, then you were married almost when you were about 16, huh?
17.
17. Then you did start to go to stores occasionally, or not?
No.
When was the next time you went into a store?
Well, the next time I started was when my brother had a store down. Had a little store out between Dyke and Carter Key, and I went there.
Well, aside from that one.
I went
Did
to
you go
Carter Key.
to
There's
LJ?
still a store at Carter Key. I went to LJ. I went to LJ when I was 16 years old. Saw my first Negro when I was 16 years old.
Right. What was he doing? Walking?
I was packing bark, doing something there around town.
Working at the tanning.
They worked at the lumber yard and then the bark yard. And, well, they bought cross ties too. And they had the Negroes to stack up the ties and place them when they were brought in. And it was...
What'd you ask your daddy anything when you saw the first colored man you'd ever seen?
I just looked. Oh, I knew. I knew what to expect just from seeing pictures. But I can remember years ago, I mean, when I was very small, I guess I was 6 or 8 years old. Look, Dad come in from LJ once. He said to my mother, I bet you can't guess who I saw today. Well, she started guessing. Will, that was his brother, lived in Atlanta. No, he guessed somebody else. She guessed somebody else. Oh, yeah. He said it was Fate Roberts. And, well, Mother said, I'll declare. She said, what in the world is he doing? She said, oh, he's working there at the barkyard. And at that time, I'd never heard anything on the most weird stores imaginable about Negroes. They'd get out, slip out, and ramble around and catch people and eat them.
Yeah, like ghosts or something awful. Yeah,
they'd kill them and eat them, or they'd slip to your house, crawl under the bed, and when you went to go to bed, they'd grab you by the foot and kill you. And
kid stories.
Yeah. I thought it was terrible. Well, after Dad went out, I said, Mother, who was Fate Roberts? Oh, she said, it's an old Negro man that your daddy that used to live with your daddy's parents, the Grandpa Murphys. They lived on his place after the Civil War, after they was freed. And I said, but wasn't Dad afraid of him? And she said, well, no, honey. She said, Fate Roberts is just a good old man. Said his daddy's played with him day after day. They was about the same age. Well, I studied about that just a whole lot. I wondered. I thought this all must be a mistake. The stories the children had told me about the niggers. Now, the one that told these stories was children that had been around and
Yeah.
knew all about them. They'd seen hundreds
Now,
of them.
that didn't mean that that was James T. Mulkey, his father? James C., or what was it?
Which?
Kim Mulkey's father, where Faith Roberts stayed, was James Mulkey?
Yeah, James C. Mulkey. Yeah.
James C. Mulkey was not a slave owner, but this was
he-
after the war.
Yeah.
He had a Negro
Yeah.
family living on his farm
Yeah.
in Gilmer County.
Lived on this farm.
Was that the only Negro family you ever heard of living on a farm out there?
No, they lived. I'd hear them working around on farms.
Different farms.
Different places. They'd come out.
It wasn't like Union County where there were no
No.
Negroes.
Well, now that's a funny story
Exaggeration,
about
too.
Union
Yeah.
County. When I first came here, they told me there'd never been a nigger in Union County. Somebody came into the store and told me that, and I said that won't work. I said there's nothing to that. I said I know better than that. How do you know so much? You've not been here for a little while. I said don't make any difference. I said my mother was. They said there'd never been a slave owner. No slave owners in Union County. I said my mother was born and raised partly up here at Blairsville. And I said, old man Gene Budd owned slaves, and so did Dr. Welburn's father, and another man. I can't think they never have been able to think of it. There was three slave owners in Union County.
Can you
and
were
I knew about
when
it.
you came along? You were born in 1888.
88, yeah.
So the Civil War and slavery was not so old. There were plenty of people around
No,
remembering
it
it,
wasn't
right?
so
Like
old, yeah.
remembering the Depression today.
Yeah.
It was just a while back.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
you name some of the slave owners in Gilmer County that you heard? Did you
I
ever
don't
hear any
remember
family names?
No, I never.
Not in your
remember.
section, in
No,
Cardigan
not in
or
that section. And I don't know that there's ever any in there. I never was sure.
you think it was further
Because,
off? Huh?
Yeah. Well, I don't believe. And I believe Faith Roberts'
Came there after
parents was, Faith Roberts was, his parents were
the
slaves.
yeah.
And he lived there around the LJ. Because
So you might have they belonged to somebody at that time. There was a slave owner.
I've heard my dad tell about
Yeah.
his wife. Her name was Mary, Faith and Mary.
Yeah. Do you remember any of their children's names?
Now I said Faith and Mary. Al and Mary.
Faith was a man's name. It was not a woman's name.
Al and
And
Mary.
you're meaning Faith, right?
And
Just
Faith
like a girl's
was the
name.
son.
Now hold it. What was your father's friends? His age? What was
His Faith Roberts.
Faith?
Faith Roberts.
Faith.
And his daddy was, and mother was Al and Mary. I know they just lived together when they lived there with Grandpa. I've heard my daddy tell about it a lot of times. They was fussing, having a little family quarrel, and he got mad. Well, I guess they were both mad. And they only had two plates, a plate apiece. Just, they had, I guess Fate had his plate, and they had, maybe he'd have a tin plate, I don't know, but they had those two plates, was all the plates they had on the plate, and he got to arguing with it, and he had a knife up this way, telling her something, and as he finishes, to put a stress on his remark, he just banged that plate and just spit it wide open. She said, Al, what in the world did you break your plate for? He said, I was trying to kill a hornet. She said, well, I'll kill a hornet too. And she come down to her knife and broke her plate. I've heard my dad laugh about that hundreds of times.
Now, Al and Mary Roberts had a son named Faith.
Faith, yeah.
Any other children?
No, that was all they had. Well, she'd work for Grandma.
Doing
And
what?
she's doing housework. Grandma wasn't very strong. Her health was bad, and she did the housework for her, cleaned the house, and just anything.
Were they there during the war, you think, or after the war?
Well, it was after the war when this happened.
Okay.
No, let me see. Because when Dad was 11 years old when the war started. That
So
must
this
have
was
been
before the war. Then
Because
you think they
Faith
were
was-
slaves, or what were they?
Oh yeah, they were slaves.
Well, who'd they belong to if they were on Robert? If they
Well,
were on
I never
Grandpa?
did find. Well, there's some
Mulkey's
Roberts in Ola J.
Yeah.
In Gilman County. There's Roberts that's lived
Well,
there.
do you think-
And the Negro slaves ended up with the names of their master.
Yeah, but do you think the fact that they were saying the 1850s, before the Civil War, on James C. Mulkey's place.
No, it wasn't
Could he have
18.
owned them?
50. No, he didn't own them. Grandpa didn't own them, no. But there was,
Maybe it was right as the war ended. Oh, there were some free Negroes, too, now, that had been slaves, and when their masters died, they gave them their freedom.
yeah.
Then they could hire themselves out like a working man.
Well, this man was living with Grandpa. And I know Grandpa didn't own any slaves because
Right.
I never heard any account
Sure,
of it from
you'd
my
hear
daddy.
it. Yeah,
And
right.
We'd
He
ask
told
Dad-
you everything about his childhood.
Yeah, we'd ask some questions about the things that happened,
Yeah.
during the war and in the slavery time.
Who were your father's closest friends? Kim Mulkey's closest
Well,
friends.
I don't know. He had a lot of them that pretended to be friends. He always got along with. He never had no trouble
Did he
with.
like any people especially
Oh,
beyond relatives that you remember?
That's some he did. Old man Charlie Cannemer never drew a sober breath hardly in his life, but he was a good friend today.
Kennemer was K.
Kennemer, Kennemer, and but he was a good man, and he'd do anything in the world for Dad that he could. And he drank all the time. Never was sober hardly, but he had sense enough to tend to his business.
Yeah.
And
He raised a big family?
worked. Yeah, raised a big family, and he worked all the time. He worked in a blacksmith shop. He had a sawmill
Besides farming?
and a grist mill, all on the same little creek. It was run by water. He had a big dam built up there and run that.
All right,
mill.
now he ran one, that was Charlie Kennemer. On what creek? Where was his place? Do you know?
Turkey Creek.
Huh?
Turkey Creek.
How far from where you live?
Well, it ran through my daddy's farm. One end of it. I mean,
But
at
to
the
drive
beginning of it.
around to his grist mill and all, you had to go around by wagon. You couldn't go up the creek
Yeah.
bed.
Well, you had to go there. It was a wagon road. It was right on the road. Just plenty of room to turn, and then space out there to drive your horses, hitch them, and
Right.
anything you wanted to.
Was that the closest mill and blacksmith shop to you?
Yeah. Oh no, my daddy had a blacksmith shop.
What other mills did you ever go to?
Well, Uncle Washington had a mill on further down on the creek.
What, a grist mill?
Yeah, a grist mill. He never had any shop or anything, but Mr. Kennemer built wagons and sawed lumber. You get lumber sawed there, just any kind you wanted, any denomination.
Now, how many years do you remember it being in operation?
Well, I don't remember the first. The first I can remember, I was very small. Like I'm talking about running the mill.
Yeah.
Charlie Cannemer's mill, and it seemed to me like that was miles and miles
And
away.
how long did you hear of it? Till up to World War I, or was it not there that long?
No, I believe Mr. Kennemer was getting pretty old at that time, and I believe he quit running. He quit sawmilling, I know, and blacksmithing, but he ran the mill.
Maybe up till 1900, or?
Yeah, he was running in 1900. Let me see, 19. Yeah, he was running in 1900 because I know Horace.
Then where would you carry lumber to get it, timber to get it sawed up after that, after he?
Well, there's sawmills.
How far?
Just coming in. They just move in,
Yeah,
sit
they
down.
move around
right
in a
up there if you
stand,
want.
yeah.
You had timber
Right.
to saw. They just
Yeah. Did
move
your
the mill and sit it
father
down.
bring in sawmillers to his land any, or?
No, they'd come in. They'd buy a tract of timber, and they'd set the mill down, and then they'd come and see how many landowners would sell them their timber. If they,
Yeah.
And whatever they sold, they'd put the mill where they could
Yeah, convenient.
get it from either place.
Right.
They put one mill. They sawed 8 months on my daddy's place once. Well, he had a lot. He had 160 acres, and then my brother had some timber adjoining places, and some on the other side. Well, they could get it all in there, and they cut this timber, hauled it in with.
What were the arrangements? Did you ever hear how they sold them timber, or what the arrangements were?
So much 1,000 on the stump, and I don't remember how much that was.
Yeah.
It was very cheap though at that time, and they just sell it, and they get out and measure the logs when they knew how to run it. I reckon they always knew how claimed they knew how much they sold. Or he sold a lot of. He sold all his timber at one time, and then and he had black gum timber, black gum trees. And it was unusual to find a sound black gum.
How old were you? Do you remember when that was? He sold so much timber off?
Well, I guess I was about 14. And yeah, I know I was, because I cooked for, he boarded the sawmill hands. He boarded 8.
Who was the man, the sawmiller? Do you remember who owned the sawmill?
One of them was John West. He owned the sawmill, and he's a deadbeat, beat everybody out of everything he could, all except my daddy. He never did make one crook where my daddy was concerned. He boarded the men and fed his cattle. He had 4 yoke of oxen. Great big old things on the horns like that.
He did what? Now say that again. With the yoke.
The oxen. He had them to drag his logs into the mill. And they'd one place on Dad's place was one hill that was almost straight down to the branch, way down. It was a steep hill. It was far from here. It was far from here to Albert's house. From the foot of the hill where they started to the top, and he just almost straight up and down. Well, he got a block and tackle, and he'd go down and he'd leave his steers. The man that was logging knew his business. He'd leave his steers here, and he'd go down and fasten that log way down to the foot of the hill. Well, he'd come down, and he'd come back up and crack that whip, and the steers would go down the hill, and the log would come up. I used to stand there and watch. I crowd around over there where there's logging a lot of times, but I had to stay out of the way.
How did Dad, he wouldn't sell them all the timber, he'd preserve some of the wood?
No, he just sold what they wanted, what was they could use for
over maybe 10 inches or something?
Because he had plenty of timber.
How big around do you remember up till then the timber then?
Oh, my Lord.
How much was the diameter of some of that timber?
Well, I just don't
some
know.
of it was virgin timber, you think?
Oh, yeah, and some of it was, well, there was one tree. They cut one tree, it was holler, and they cut it off. This man, this man lived right next to us, had I'm going to tell Mom. He had it sawed off. It was, I don't know what I believe, it was a dead chestnut. He had that sawed off, and he fixed a roof on that, fixed out his door and boxed it up, and kept team mules in it.
I don't really. That's a tale.
It's a tale, but
I thought you were going to tell me there was a tree that was about 3-4 foot around.
Oh, 2 foot around. I find trees up there now just more than 3 or 4 foot around. I see this. They cut some on Dad's face, I believe it was 6 foot through it. Straight through it, the ground.
What kind would those be?
Oaks. Most of them were oaks. The chestnut oak or the mountain oak and chestnut oak, they had 2 names. They grew larger than any of the others. And there's no disease in the timber then. You know, just seldom find a dead tree out in the wood until something hit the chestnut timber and killed all of it.
Yeah.
But the oaks were sound from the bottom up. And just very seldom you ever find a holler tree with a holler in it. I know Dad used to value them things. He used them for everything. He'd sell to a great big old holler log. Well,
What different things would he make?
Well,
Make a big
make guns,
storage
whittle them out, smooth them off, and put them off in the back, put a head in them, use them to put salt in. Everybody bought salt by the 100 pound, and everybody had a salt gun. They'd pour the salt in there and put a lid on it, and you had salt to last you a year, salt your meat, or things like that. And then they'd use them for
Now these would be holler trees, maybe
They use them for
2 foot across, a 3 foot across,
Yeah.
hollow in the middle. So
Yeah.
good storage on the inside.
Well, they'd hew them out, make troughs, feed the mules, horses, not all, hog troughs. Just put a nail on board, saw them all smooth, and you could nail a board on there. And
Yeah.
the board would hold it.
Because it was like having something manufactured. They didn't have to buy a thing
Yeah,
and shape it.
well, they did that. They used them for horse troughs and cows, feed the cows in.
Right.
And the hogs in the hog pen, and on that hog outside, if when you didn't have a hog in the pen, they take the leave and scratch from the table and pour it out on in the trough, and the hogs would eat it, or watermelon rind, or anything like that. And then they made one, had one great big one, it held 100 gallons, I believe, of his homemade lye soap. And it was big gum that you sawed off. It was more than that big around. Put it down on the ground, and we'd put ashes in there, burn green wood, take them out of the fireplace and put them in that gum and keep it covered up till in March when the mother always made soap. And then we had to carry water and pour on those ashes, and they'd drip the lye down through. And I'm telling you, that stuff would eat you up. She'd put a scrap meat, just great big old hunks of meat, and smaller bones and stuff in there, start that to cooking. Wouldn't be but a little while when all those bones had disappeared, and that would come out as the prettiest brown soap you ever saw. Looked like just about like syrup. And she'd put it in that big trough. Had a lid to put on it, and she had a year's supply of soap. She never bought no soap to wash with. She made her own soap. And then he used
How late do you remember that? Did you do it after you got married?
I've done it since I've been here.
Done
Not
it
out of
since
ashes.
No.
I'd make it out of this pot ash. But yes, I made ashes, soap out of ashes after I was married. But anyway, he couldn't get tubs, nothing but wooden tubs. And you maybe put them in, leave them, wash with them, and if you left water in them, they'd get to smelling. But we always left water in them, or they'd fall down. In dry weather, them things would just dry up and just fall all to pieces.
No, these were
Wooden tubs. That's all we had.
But they were made out of hollow?
No, they were made out of staves. There's a stave mill down here at LJ, at the side of LJ, where they used to make
So
staves.
you kept water in these to keep the
Have to keep
stave
water in
solid?
to keep the staves
Swelled up.
swelled up till they
Right.
wouldn't leak. Well, Dad got tired of fooling with that. Sometimes they'd warp when they get too dry, and they'd warp the bottom of the warp and leak, and everything else happened. When he got logs, just big logs, like wide as this, or wider than this, put it up on where we wouldn't have to stoop, up even body high, where you could wash. And a block out there, the battle of clothes on. Well, he had a divider in this trough. Well, we put the white clothes in here, and the cold ones over here. And we washed the white
Made
ones.
life easier, huh?
Wash the white ones out, and while they was boiling, then we'd wash the cold ones and put them over in there in the next water. And then he had a big trough at the spring, and a spout made in there, and that water come down the spout as big as your arm. And you just throw the clothes in there and take a stick and stir them around there. First thing you know, they're ready to hang on the line. That's when we rinsed the clothes. It didn't happen.
That was the first automation.
Yeah. But everything was made at home. He'd make stands out of it. He'd take, but it was white oak he used. It was easier to split and more fine. He'd take that, dress it off. He had all kinds of tools in his shop that people used at that time. And would make stands. He'd fit them together, put a head in them. He'd put a groove in that head down there, and he'd set his staves up here. You want to set it like you wanted, and then he'd put his hoop on it. But a piece of the timber, the white oak timber, he could split it off and whittle it down till it would be inclined, and he could use it. And he'd put that on there for a hook. He had somehow or another he locked that. He put a notch in it and it would lock that. And that was what we put pickled beans in. We'd pickle beans, pickle out full of beans.
Yeah.
We made one for kraut. We put kraut in a big old, and then made a lid to fit over the top of that. And there was no trouble. We had it made. I had to make about, I think the stands he made held about 35 gallons each. We'd make 35 gallons of sauerkraut, 35 gallons.
What did he use? What was the lumber he was using for that?
White oak. White oak or post oak. There's two kinds of it looks pretty much alike, but I used to tell the difference in it when I was out. The post oak is a coarser grain than the white oak. The white oak's what he always used. He used to make white oak splits, bottom chairs with. He'd strip them out, put a bottom in the chair, and it'd last for years and years.
Now you said you remembered too when the sawmillers came. There was 8 of them or so because you helped cook for them.
Oh yeah.
Was that on your home place there with
Yeah.
Tim Mulkey?
I was at home at my daddy's place.
Where did he put them up?
Well, we had beds for them.
At your place?
Yeah, I had a big
How long
old
did they
house.
stay with you, you think?
Well, they stayed there 8 months.
They lived with you over a summer and a winter, huh?
Well, yeah, well, they wasn't there all the time. And when bad weather, they couldn't get in to saw, and they couldn't. And sometimes some of their hands would be sick, and they always had a man to do the sawing, and sometimes he wouldn't be there, and they couldn't run the mill. But just on an average, they're there for 8 months. The mill sat there 8 months.
What'd you feed them?
Well, we had plenty. We had plenty of beans, peas, potatoes, irish potatoes, sweet potatoes, cabbage, turnips, and beets, and stuff like that. We had, and fruit, all kinds of fruit, apples and peaches in the summertime. And no cans, couldn't can peaches, couldn't can anything then. Nobody can. I was grown before I ever saw a jar of it. People canned in.
You were married?
No,
Or
I
not
wasn't.
quite married?
I wasn't married. There's a preacher moved from Boardtown, that's above LJ down there, bought a farm down there close to my daddy. And he bought a dozen fruit jars. And they got one of them broke. And Dad bought 11 of them. That's the first ones I ever saw. And I thought only rich people had it. But we had, we dried apples, we dried pumpkin, dried apples and pumpkins and peaches, and we had them. Sometimes we'd have peaches every year. And then we'd get out in the woods and get these little grapes, mountain grapes, and some of them sour as the dickens, and some of them sweet. Well, we'd pick them off, bring in this loads of them, and Mother had some big 5-gallon churns. She'd pick them grapes off and wash them, put them in those churns, and pour syrup over. We always had plenty of syrup. You know, that syrup would draw the juice out of the grapes and made the best drink you ever tasted.
Then what happened?
Yeah, well, they'd use the grapes, make pies out of the grapes, use the juice, make pies out of the juice, or then the way she wanted to use them. And then she would take apples and smoke them with sulfur. And they'd pack them in a jar and they'd keep all winter. That sulfur preserved them. And we'd cook them sometimes, fresh apples. And then they have dried apples, dried pumpkin, dried grapes. Dry the grapes sometimes. Well, a lot of times she used to dry them. Well, she'd cook them grapes. There was one man that stayed there that worked at the sawmill. He'd eat a great big bowl of them grapes every time they was put on the table. And he'd burst every seed in them. You never heard such cracking as he'd do. He liked them grapes better than anything. And then we got, we'd make jelly sometimes. Well, we always had jelly and preserves. She preserved apples. Just make great big 4 and 5 gallon churns full of apple preserve. Just put them in a churn, tie a cloth over them, and they kept all winter.
She put nothing else in them?
No. I probably what she'd cook them apples till they looked clear, and the syrup in them was thicker than ordinary syrup, the way most people made syrup at that time. I didn't have that. That was living. I never in my life, until, well, after I was grown and married and had grown children, saw a can of salmon or anything canned out of the store put on my daddy's table to help out a meal.
Mm-hmm.
We always had enough fun. We had chickens.
Mm-hmm.
Have
What?
chickens.
Let me ask this. You had a certain experience at home. Then you married Oliver.
Yeah.
In your early years of marriage, even though you'd been raised up in the same area, do you remember any differences like in his impressions of things? Whether things he had seen at home that you hadn't, or things that were done differently at home?
No, well, yes, he used to always be telling me that I didn't do things like Mom did.
What was an example of that?
Huh?
What did he mean?
Cooking.
What was her style? What was it?
Well, she cooked cornbread. She'd take this meal, take cornmeal, have it ground. She'd sift it in a pan. She'd take cold water and stir that up into a dough that she could handle like this.
Yeah.
And put it down the pan and bake it. And that was the way she cooked it. Well, I put a little soda in my bread, and a little salt, and buttermilk if I had it. And if I didn't, I didn't. And he'd always
different way of preparing corn.
well, he'd talk about it. So sometimes he'd get aggravated. It's just like,
Were there other things he was used to?
it's just like
Any
Mom
story?
said, I never have nothing. You waste it all. And I said, what am I wasting now? Oh, you put salt and soda in the cornbread. And I she'd tell him that. Yeah.
Well, had he been used to any canned goods, for instance, at his home, or anything different?
No, she had, they had dried fruit. Just about everybody had.
Everybody had about what you described.
Yeah, everything. Everybody had. They didn't have turnips and stuff like that all the time. But they lived in the place they lived on didn't produce stuff. Well, like my daddy, the farm he was on, because he had certain spots on that that would grow anything on it. And he always made enough. There's three things.
Yeah.
Four things that I never knew my dad would be out of. And it was money, meat, corn, and syrup. He always had it. I've seen.
You might run out of vegetables or fruit sometime, but
we hardly ever run out of vegetables unless it's early in the spring before something come in the garden. We wouldn't have, maybe the cabbage would be gone, but when they cut them off, we bed them up, through the winter and cut them off.
How about things like sauerkraut? Could you keep it in those?
Yeah, I can keep.
What, in a big barrel?
Yeah, in a big stand. You just keep it. Of course, when it got down low in the barrel on towards spring, my mother would take it out and pack it in a clean stone jar and put fresh brine on it, fresh salt water on it, and it just keep right on. As long as you watch it and don't let the brine, if that water goes down, as far as it goes down, that kraut rots. And she always watched after that. And she'd take, to keep from losing any of it on the top, it'll always go down. She'd put a thick layer of grape leaves or cabbage leaves on the top of that and then put a weight on it. He fixed a board to go down in on the kraut to hold it down, and she'd put a big old flint rock on top of that to hold it down under the water, keep it from spoiling. And it was, and you pick her beans the same way. Some things she wouldn't eat. She wouldn't eat drop milk.
Now this was who? I'm trying to place his. What was his mother's name?
Ann.
West. Ann.
Mary Ann West.
Mary Ann West.
Southern.
She was a Southern married.
Yeah.
Was his father Benjamin, or what was his father's?
No. Well, they called him. His name was Benjamin Nathaniel.
But they called him.
They called him Bud.
Bud.
He's
Bud
the oldest.
West, yeah. And this was Mary Ann.
That was
Southern West.
Southern West, yeah.
Now, what didn't she like?
She wouldn't eat milk, or butter, wouldn't drink milk, or eat butter. She wouldn't eat beef, mutton or lamb, or anything like that.
Didn't like beef or lamb?
No.
Just hog meat or what?
She ate hog meat, and I was wrong. And she'd tell you that you could fool her.
Somebody down the store
She could, you say?
I don't know. I got buddies down there, ain't you?
Oh.
Didn't she go down that way?
You say you could fool her? Or you couldn't?
She said she could be fooled. But if anybody's ever fooled her and make her eat beef or hog meat,
Do you think all of her life she never
she'd
ate
kill-
beef or lamb?
Huh?
She never ate beef or lamb all of
And
her
I
life?
don't know.
Now, does that mean in the southern household maybe there was no
The whole
beef?
family was
Huh?
like that. The whole family
The
was like
southerns were like that.
Yeah.
Now, what about the west?
Oh, Grandpa
Bud
liked-
West.
Grandpa liked it all.
And
he-
your husband Oliver liked
Yeah,
beef
well, he didn't. When he used to come,
because the mother had influenced the children.
he'd come to the house one time and come over to my dad and spent the night when he was just a kid. And Rome, my brother, older than me, we had steak and had hog meat. Well, they liked hog meat. All of them liked hog meat. And we sat down to the table and went to eat, and he said, Rome said, did you like steak? Nah, old beef, it's fit for a dog to eat. I just can't stand it. I'll never eat about out in my life. So when we got ready to sit down at the table, we had meat fried. My mother fried meats, and she fried the beef. And Rome just took 2 or 3 pieces of that beef, made them a meat dish, and put some fat streaks of meat on top of it, Sit down to eat. Oliver was sitting there. I don't know what he's eating. But anyhow, Rome said, Oliver, here's some hog meat in this dish. There's some of us, might be lean piece or 2 in under there. He took it out and ate it. Rome said, that with me, sure is. And he said, that was beef, you see. He said, what? He said, that was beef. But I fooled them all. I took it out of the beef, out of that. And he said, well, I don't care, it's good. Well, he eats it from then on. Yeah, he liked it.
Now, what about the others?
Well, there's some of them wouldn't eat it and some of them would. Some of the girls would eat it and some wouldn't.
But she was never fooled, you don't think?
And she come to my house one time, she wouldn't eat butter. And we didn't even think this was butter.
And didn't drink milk either?
No, and she come to my house once, and I didn't know she was coming. And I'd made a sweet potato pie and an apple pie, just coffee. And I always put butter in, and I just put a pie of it in there. And she sat down. I had beans cooked and cabbage, beans, potatoes, so I had plenty cooked. Well, she started on that pie, and that's all she ate. She said, I'd give anything in the world if I could just make a pie as good as she can. Said, I never tasted, you make the best pies I ever eat in my life. And I want to know how you do it. And I said, well, I do it just like I've always made them. I've been making pies a long time. Well, I never thought.
How old was she then, you think?
Oh, she was old.
Yeah, okay.
Don was grown, and he was one of her 3rd or 4th grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she was up in 60, I guess. And I thought about it, and I didn't say a word. And she ate pie for dinner, and for supper she wanted more pie.
But you didn't tell her about the butter, did you?
No, I didn't think about it when she first bragging on it, and after she'd eat, and I didn't want to have force up the floor, so she bottled it up in the kitchen. No, after she was gone, Oliver said to me one day, some of these times when I'm getting ready to go tomorrow, I want you to make her a great big pie and send her. And I said, you know how that pie was so good? So she thinks you can make the best pie. And I said, you know why it's so good? No. She said, you always make good pies. And I said, I put butter in that, plenty of it. He said, you didn't. I said, yes, I did. Well, I'd be ashamed. And I said, well, now why should I be ashamed? I said, I didn't know you.
This wasn't a religious conviction or anything. It was just her way of...
Yeah.
So she ate hog meat and vegetables. That was
Yeah.
what she basically ate.
And I said, I didn't know your mother was this out of Cartersville when I made that pie.
Right.
And I said, I didn't think about it until after she'd done eat all she wanted. And, well, he said, you better not tell her about it. I said, I'm not going to tell her. And if you want to be a tattletale, you can tell her, and I'll tell her you told her story. Well, but she never did. I never did tell her she eat pie with butter in it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Right. How about Oliver? Did he have any other ways about what he ate and didn't eat?
Well, no, not special. Only he likes salt. You finished now? I hope he is.
He likes.
Morning, just him and me. He put a fire in the stove. He said, "Now I want you to fry some meat and make me some good gravy and put plenty of salt in it." And I said, "There's nobody here now. You don't eat it, and you got no excuse for not salting it." Well, I fixed it, and I put I put a double amount that I'd put in just for the family. I knew it'd be as salty as he'd want it. I thought it would. And I was fixing it, and I turned around to get my milk, and he come in the kitchen. He reached over in the salt jar and put in some salt, more salt. Oh, I said, "That gravy looks good." Well, he went on out, and as he'd gone out, I reached over and
Put still more.
I put more salt in. He sat down at the table and took it out. "Oh, that gravy looks good." But now I had made some, just like I thought he'd want it. Beside that, but I fixed that salty, so I knew he wouldn't eat it. He sat out at the table, took out some of his plate. I had a biscuit and sopped it up, Looked sort of funny in his food, and he said, "Well, honey, this is one time you got just a little too much salt in the gravy." I said, "Now, honey, I wouldn't have got too much salt in it if you hadn't sneaked in there and put some more in it." He said, "Blame take it, I can't do nothing without you catch me."
Right.
He didn't know I'd resalt it too.
You were just teaching him a lesson that time.
Yeah, well, I had some more made for him.
Did he have anything besides salt he liked a lot?
No, he liked most every kind of food that was.
What did he not like?
Well, there's some things that he didn't like as well as others. He never did like. He never did like turnip greens too well. But everything else he liked. And he wouldn't eat ice cream. He couldn't eat about ice cream. So
Homemade or store?
No kind of ice cream. And he didn't like, he liked any kind of pie or cake.
Think his teeth hurt him? Could that be the reason on ice cream?
No, he just, I don't know.
Would he eat an iced tea?
It's the cost of eating frozen milk. It's all the excuse he ever get. No, it wasn't just tea. Because he'd eat ice, just take straight ice in his mouth and eat it. Who's that going living so wicked year after year, Father and long will know about it. Father and long will understand I, year of my brother.
What was that when Jackson wanted you to sing?
Oh, the Wayfaring string. But it's, I don't have it on I can't play it on this. It's too much finger work with it.
You can sing it without any strings.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She wanted it the old way, the way I used to know it. They got a new tune to it now. It don't sound like it's. I am a poor wayfaring stranger, a traveling through this world of woe. There is no sickness, torn, or danger to that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my Father. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. I know dark clouds will gather round me. I know my way is rough and steep, yet beauteous fields lie just before me, where God's redeemed vigils keep. I'm going there to see my mother. She said she'd meet me when I come. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. I'll soon be freed from all life's trials. My body will sleep in the old churchyard. I'll drop the cross of self-denial and enter in my rich reward. I'm going there to see my classmates who have gone before me one by one. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. Whew, I get my wind. That's not all of it. Yeah, not all of it, but I forgot the rest of it. But you can play that for Jancy now if it's any good. When
Yeah.
I just sung this what I could think of it when she was in here.
And when you're sitting here alone like this, you
Yeah, I
play your
sing.
guitar and sing.
I see somebody coming in.
What other song do you play, maybe?
Well, sometimes some.
Picture from Life's Other Side, or some of those?
No, I don't know.
What else do you play?
I don't know it. I can play the tune.
What about, you played Farther Along, what other songs do you play when you're alone like this? Or see somebody
Well, I don't. I just what happens to come on to my mind. Usually, it's now this is my daddy's favorite song. forgotten a lot of the songs that I know. I know I can get the tune all right, but that song my dad especially liked. You know, I've been playing with these things since I was 12 years old. Since arthritis has got in my hand, I can only use that thumb. I have to make it all with that one thumb.
And you use just, you strum across the other 4 fingers without
No,
picking, just
I
the
don't
thumb.
touch. Just
The other, you use the thumb to also strum.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's the way I had to do it after my hand got crooked up. I couldn't, but Dad would go to bed at night, and he'd say, if you'll play and sing me a few songs, I'll go to bed. I'll go to sleep. Well, I wouldn't get through the first one until he'd be snoring, but I'd just play on. A lot of times he's told me in the morning, you know, that was the prettiest music I ever heard last night. And I'd say, well, Dad, you was asleep. He said, I know I was asleep, but I heard that music. And he said, it sounded much better than it did when I was awake. And another one was When the Roll is Called Up Yonder. I guess you must know that. Seriously, right? There's one string that's not, I try not to hit it. Saved of birds that's gathered over on the other shore, and the roll is gone up yonder on the side. When the roll is gone up yonder, when the roll is gone up yonder, when the roll is gone up yonder. When the roll is gone up yonder, I'll be there. Let us labor for the master from the long setting sun. Let us talk of falling wonders, love and care. And when all the flight is over and our work on earth is done, and the roll is gone up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is gone up yonder, 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 I'll be there.
You remember that orphan girl you used to sing?
Which?
Orphan girl. No bread, no bread. But she went to the rich man's door.
As the good as the red turned and he scornfully said, no room, no bread for the poor. Then I must freeze, she said as she sang, and clothed to cover her feet in an old torn dress, all covered in stone, all covered in snow and sleet. The rich man lay on his velvet couch and dreamed of silver and gold, while the orphan lay on a bed of snow and murmured so cold, so cold. Midnight came and the snow still fell all around like a funeral knell, and the orphan lay on the bed of snow and the drifting snow still fell. Think of the rest of her. There's another one. Morning dawn and the little girl still lay at the rich man's door, but her soul had fled to its home of love, where there's room and bed for the poor. That's all I know of it.
She knows that one
Huh?
on a tiny redwood casket or something. Resting on
Red rosewood casket. No, I don't know that. I used to know it a long time ago, but I never did pay that much. Is it?
What's the, what were some of the first shape note songs you remember singing at Ebenezer? Any of them you still remember any of them?
Hail, Mama, so do, mi, sol, mi, re, do, re, sol, mi, re, do, mi, re, do, sol, do, sol, si, do. Hey, we can sing a song of Moses and Elam. Break every word and every tongue to praise the Savior's name. And I used to know a lot of them. The first ones, I've been singing the notes since I was just a little bitty kid. I learned that a long time ago. And it's just, we are passing away. We are passing away. We are passing away to that great judgment day. That all parts goes to that. But I usually sing. They used to call it the treble. There's the soprano, the treble, and the alto and bass. And I used to sing now first it goes and must I lead to judgment note and answer in that day. But but my part was must I be to judgment brought and answer in advance for everything and I know and every word I say. We are passing away. We are passing away. We are passing away to that great judgment day. Oh, this old man said about having tooth pulled. He'd had millions of them. And his little grandson was crying on the telephone. He said, "Grandpa, did you ever have a tooth pulled?" Oh, millions of them, millions of them. I was saying millions of songs out of that old book at church. And it used to be, that was
That's the treble part you just played.
Yeah, yeah. And there's well, I'll play you a little foolish one. I'll play you the woman's tongue since there's no women around. Did you ever hear it? You heard that, anybody? Huh? How she catches every word out on you. She gets off a man to death before he gave his breath, and the way she runs her tongue, it beats the tune. I know just how he feels when he comes into his meals, and the dancing and the music just come in. When he's been working hard, he will find her in the yard, chattering to the neighbors over the fence. She is bound to be heard, and she shouts out every word that the neighbors can get from door to door. Boy, you just as well to drop it, for you know you'll never stop it, 'cause a woman's tongue will run forevermore. There's no use beginning, try to stop a woman sinning, might as well try to stop a circle song. Boy, don't let your head go swimming, no, they pretty little women, 'cause a woman's tongue will run forevermore. There's a lot of fun in sporting, and a lot of fun in courting. Paul says to begin it while you're young. If you want to marry a wife and be happy all your life, marry one that is blind, deaf, and dumb. That ends it, I reckon.